Who are you before the music? Welcome to Artists and Money, a podcast that peels the human before the artist. I'm Louiza Williams, talent manager, brand strategist, and your guide to understanding yourself, your money, and your music career. Let's get into it. I want to ask you a question that nobody in the music industry ever asks. Not your producer, not your manager, not your label, nobody. And that question is, who are you before the music? Not who are you as an artist, not what genre you make. I have seen one pattern destroy more talent than whack beats, bad deals, or bad timing ever could. Most artists never stop to understand themselves as human beings before they try to build themselves as artists. And that's one gap, that's one missing foundation, is responsible for more failed careers, more frustration, more bad deals, and more broken dreams than anything else in this industry. Before we talk about money, before we talk about deals, streams, managers, or record labels, we need to talk about you, the human, the person, the soul behind the music. Welcome to Artists and Money. I am your host, Louiza Williams. And this is where we build the human before we build the artist. For over 10 years, I have sat across the table from some of the most talented artists you've never heard of, and some that you have. I have managed artists from nothing, no fan base, no budgets, no connections, and built them into names that people recognize globally. I have also watched incredibly gifted artists destroy their own careers. Not because the industry failed them, but because they failed themselves long before any industry player ever got involved. And the more I observed, the more I realized that the music industry has a very serious education problem. We teach artists about recording, about performing, about branding, or even social media. But nobody teaches them about themselves. Nobody asks them, do you know who you are? Or do you know why you started? Do you even know what success means to you personally? Or do you know your relationship with money? Nobody asks those questions. And so, artists show up to one of the toughest industries in the world completely unprepared. Not musically, but humanly. That is why Artists and Money exist. Not just to talk about making money as an artist, although we will go very deep into that, but to first build the human being who is strong enough, self-aware enough, and financially intelligent enough to sustain a music career long term. Because you are a human before you are an artist, and everything starts there. So let's get into it. Who are you before the music? I want to give you 3 things to think about today. 3 areas of self-awareness that every artist needs to examine before they take one more step in their music career. Point 1, your identity. Most artists build their entire identity around their music. Their name, their image, their confidence, their sense of worth. All of it is tied to one thing, the music. And on the surface, that sounds passionate. It sounds dedicated. But here is the danger. What happens when the music isn't working? What happens when the streams are low? The shows aren't coming. The label isn't calling. And the algorithms isn't in your favor. If your entire identity is the music, you collapse with it. I have watched artists go into depression, deep depression at that, not because their career was over, but because one project underperformed. I have watched artists make desperate, damaging decisions, not because they had no options, but because without the music succeeding, they felt like nothing. That is an identity crisis, and it is incredibly common in this industry. The strongest artists I have ever managed are the ones who have a full, rich sense of who they are outside of music. They have values, they have beliefs, they have interests, they have relationships that are not built on their artist status. And because of that, when music gets hard, and yes, it does get hard, they don't break. They bend and they come back stronger. So the first question I want you to sit with today is this. Who are you when the music is gone? Not as a depressing thought, but as a powerful exercise in self-awareness. Now, I need you to know that if you can answer that question fully and confidently, you have a foundation that no bad review, no failed project, and no slow season can destroy. The second thing I want to talk about is your why. Why did you start music? And before you answer, I want you to be really honest with yourself, because most of the answers I hear from artists are surface answers. Answers like, I love music. I started music because it's my passion. Because I was born to do this. Or, I just love music. Answers like, I started music because I love music. Or, music is my passion. Or maybe I was born to do this. I bet you, those are feelings. Those are not reasons, because feelings change. Passion fades when the money isn't coming and the recognition isn't there, or when love for music gets complicated, when the industry starts treating you like a commodity. A real why is connected to something so personal, so meaningful, so rooted in your story that no amount of rejection, slow progress, or financial struggle can touch it. Let me tell you a story. In the early days of my career, I once worked with an artist who went 2 years without a single major breakthrough. 2 years of grinding, recording, performing to small crowds, and investing money he didn't always have. Most artists would have quit. Many did quit around him. Yeah, but he didn't. And when I asked him why, he told me music was the only thing that kept him connected to his late father, who passed away when he was young. Every song he made felt like a conversation with someone he had lost. That is a why that cannot be broken by a bad review or a slow streaming month. Compare that to an artist whose why is, I just want to be famous. The moment fame feels too far away, and it always feels far away in the early stages, that artist is gone, frustrated, difficult to manage, and ready to sign anything just to feel like they are moving. So the second question I want you to sit with today is, why did you really start music? And is that why strong enough to carry you through the hard seasons? Because if it isn't, you need to find one that is before you go any further. Point 3, your definition of success. The third thing, and this one is something I am deeply passionate about because I have seen it damage so many careers. Most artists are chasing a version of success that doesn't belong to them. They saw someone else's life, someone else's career, someone else's lifestyle, and they decided consciously or unconsciously that is what success looks like. And so they spent years, sometimes their entire careers, chasing a destination that was never theirs to begin with. And here is what makes it even more dangerous. Even if they somehow achieve that version of success they copied from someone else, they arrive and feel nothing because it was never what they actually wanted. I have seen this happen. Artists who hit big numbers got the recognition, got the due, got the features with the names they admire, and called me, sounded confused, empty, asking, is this it? Because they never stopped to ask themselves, what does success actually mean to me? Not to their favorite artist, not to their parents, not to their friends or their social media following. To them, personally, specifically, for some artists, success is financial freedom, never having to worry about money again. For some, it is creative freedom, making exactly the music they wanted without compromise. While for some, it is impact, changing lives, representing their community, being a voice for people who have none. And for some, it is legacy, building something their children and grandchildren will be proud of. None of this is wrong. All of them are valid, but you need to know which one is yours, because your definition of success determines every decision you make. Who you sign with, what projects you take, what you charge, what you refuse, how long you stay in the game. The third question I want you to sit with today is, what does success genuinely mean to me? Not to anyone else. To me. To me as a juror. To me as GYC. To me as the next Kiss Daniel. To me as the next Whiskey. To me as whoever you feel you want to be. Write it down. Be specific. Be honest. That answer becomes yours. That answer becomes your compass for everything that comes next. Let me be real with you for a moment. I have managed artists for over a decade. I have fought for people, believed in people, invested time, energy, and resources into building careers. And the artists who frustrated me the most, the ones who were hardest to push, hardest to develop, hardest to sustain, were never the ones with the least talent. They were the ones with the least self-awareness. The ones who didn't know who they were, who couldn't tell me why they started, who had no personal definition of success, so they were never satisfied and never hungry enough at the same time. Talent without self-awareness is like a powerful car with no steering wheel. It can go fast, but it cannot go far. And this podcast exists because I believe that the music industry would look completely different. More artists thriving, fewer artists broken, fewer bad deals signed in desperation if we just started here with the human before the artist. Before our next episode, I want you to do one thing. Just one. Let's strike a deal. Get a pen and a piece of paper or open the note app on your phone and answer these 3 questions honestly. 1. Who am I outside of music? 2. Why did I really start music? Is that why strong enough? 3. What does success mean to me personally? Don't rush it. Sit with it. Be brutally honest, because your answers to those 3 questions are the foundation that every single thing we build together on this podcast will stand on. Save those answers. We are going to come back to them. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this episode spoke to you, share it with an artist you know. Not because I need the numbers, but because there is someone in your circle who needs to hear this today. Next episode, we are going deeper into something every artist struggles with, but very few talk about openly. What does success really mean to you? Because most artists are running a race toward a finish line someone else drew for them. Our next episode, we are going to tear that up completely and draw your own. I'm Louiza Williams. This is Artist and Money, because you are a human before you are an artist, and everything starts there.